Hi, my name is Karl-Erich, and this is a GIS tutorial extracting data from raster files using buffers and zonal statistics. And I'm going to go through an exercise where I extract data from RadarSat-2 imagery that was taken from river ice cover. So the first thing you should do is go to your ArcGIS map or open up your ArcMap and just make a new project. And the first thing we'll do is we'll open up some RadarSat imagery. So in this right column here is your Arc catalog, and you can see your files here. So open up the folder to where the files are for this exercise, for this tutorial. And we're going to go through, we're going to extract data that was acquired on one particular day. I'll pick here the 5th of January 2012. So I'll click on it and I'll keep the click depressed and drag it over to the layer window on the left and drop it in there. So we can see right now it's we see a bit of the river here, and also there's a tributary to that river as well. And what we'll do is we'll just change the view so that we only see the data along the rivers here. So what we'll do is just click on this scale bar right here, and I'd like to have a color ramp, not just a grayscale ramp. So we'll do a color ramp here, and we'll invert the colors on that, so that we'll have blue would be low values and the red here would be high values. Now right click on the file here and you'll see a properties menu that you can open that, and you'll see here that right now we have what we'll call standard deviations, but we'd like to have the range of this color ramp between the min and the max values along the river. So pick min max, and right now that background color is green, this light green. What we'll do is we'll just have no color in that, and you can now just apply it if you want, or you can see the river here, or just okay. Let me zoom in on that. So here on the left hand side is a toolbar, and we have also a zoom tool. So I'm just going to zoom on this river that is moving, in the north-south axis direction. And you can also move it around, pan it around with this pan tool as well. And let me just zoom in on a certain area here. Zoom in over here. Now these are values, you can see the pixels here, or the grid line, the raster values here. If you want to zoom back to your original zoom, just click on this previous extent button. And this blue here, these very low values, you want to see those values. Look, there's a tool here, identify tool. Click on that. Click here as well on some of these values. And those values here are about minus 24 point a bit, and these values probably correspond more to open water situation here. These values here are already freshly or new ice here as well. This could also be not just open water, could also be very thin ice as well. And this here, the yellow and the red, is probably more thicker ice. Yeah, there might be also this red here might be an ice flow that got frozen into the ice cover. Okay, now what I'd like to do is make a longitudinal profile of this. First of all, maybe I'll put in some a center line that I've constructed. Let me zoom out again to what I had previously. And you'll see here there's a center line, Red River center line. And you can drag that over. I'm going to use the center line that has points every 50 meters along that river. So I'm going to drag that over to on top, put it over on the top there, so it'll overlay on top of OK on there. Now you can see those points along here. Let me zoom in on that. Let me do you can see here, these are the center line points along the river. And what I'd like to do is at each point, I'd like to create a circle or a buffer and calculate the mean of all those raster points within that buffer. So how to do that is the first step is to create that buffer, and you can do that in the analysis tools in the toolbox. So I'll click on analysis tools and go to, there's lots of tools in here, so, and they're all nicely structured here in this tree. And what we like is this under proximity is buffer. So double click on the buffer, and here's the tool. It gives on the right here of that window a menu, a general overview of that tool. You can see some options that you create with that. And if you click these green values here, these dots indicate that those are values that you have to put in, you're required, yeah. Where you don't see a green dot, that's optional. So here the input features, the first one, the input is the line or the polygon or the shape file that I want to use to buffer, and that will be my center line points here. So either you can drag this over, or you'll see it here in the scroll down a menu as well. So I'm just going to click on that. And I want to have a radius. This would be the linear unit would be a radius of 50 meters around each of those points. So I'll type in 50 meters here. And then go OK. Now this can take a while. You have to wait a bit. There's quite a bit of data that to be processed. You can see here in the bottom left, or bottom right, sorry, that there's status of those calculations. And when you see this pop-up message coming up, that means that it's already complete, and that with the check mark it shows that it was done successfully. And here is actually the buffer. I'm going to zoom in a little more. Zoom in here. And you can see here are my circular buffers around here. So the next is I'd like to take for each of these circles all the raster points that are within that circle. I'd like to calculate a mean value of those. So this too is another tool. They will be under the spatial analyst tools. And you have to make sure that if you go under customize, you should have a extensions menu, and just make sure that your spatial analyst extension is clicked on. Okay, so mine is clicked on, I'm fine. And I'll now open up the spatial analyst toolbox, and I'll go down here to zonal. I'll open up zonal, and what I'd like to do are zonal statistics. So I'll open up that toolbox, and so it calculates statistics on values of a raster within the zones of another data set, and the zones here are my buffers. So So the input raster, or the zone data, will be my buffer, like that. And that buffer, you can see that also, it's here in my layer window. And the zone field, I'm going to use just the ID value of that. It just wants something that identifies that zone. And the raster, from which I want to extract my statistics, and that will be my RadarSat-2 image. And I want to calculate the mean value, but you can do other ones too. You can calculate the maximum value in that each buffer, or the minimum, the range, or standard deviation, or you can add them all together. But I'm just going to do the mean for this exercise here, and I'll click OK. And notice too, again, on the bottom right, you'll see the status of the calculation. It's currently calculating, and wait for that pop-up here, that pop-up message to occur and to show what the status of that calculation was. And it calculated fine. There was no problems with that, no errors. And here you can see it's actually behind the buffer now, but if I move the zonal statistic raster up above, you can move it up and it'll lie on top of that buffer now. And you can see now that each of these rasters in here are actually the mean values. So if I go on my identity value here and I click on one of those, just make sure that you do actually have the right layer, my zonal statistic layer. Click on it again, and sure enough, here my dB values, my decibel values, they're always a negative value. And if you go to another one, they will change. Well, everything seems to be going okay. Now I'd like to extract this mean value of each zone here onto my point. And it's the points that I want to export so I can put them in an Excel file for processing later on. So to do that, you also in Spatial Analyst tool, you open up the extraction tool. And here I have extract values to points. So I'll double click on that and input point features. So you have to put in which points you want to extract the values to. So I'm going to be my points, my centerline points. The raster from which you want to extract the values, it will be my zonal statistics value rasters here, and that should do it. Oh, and I'll go OK. And now you can see here it's extracting the values, and that's been fine. Now the original centerline points, if you can open up the table that constitutes this layer, there's an open attribute table, and you can see here that there's an ID value. There's some other values here. The interval of each point is 50-meter intervals here, the coordinates of those points. Now what I've done is with the extract to points, this extract one here will be the same. It will have the same attribute table, only now it'll have that additional column of points. If I click on these points now, here's the identity tool. If I click on those, you can see now I better click on the extract layer. So if I click on those, you can see now that it has that raster value. If I go to this top one here, let me take a look. That one here has a value of 11.54, and that was extracted from, that's a bit hard to see. Let's go to this one. This one has 11.17, and that would have been extracted from this zonal statistic. We'll try that out. This zonal here, that was, click on there, yeah, 11.17.